welcome back to the channel and to my third installment in my Army Stories video series. The first two stories were on my recruitment and my basic training stories. And the next step after basic training is what's called A.I.T, or Advanced Individual Training. That's where you start to learn about the MOS that you signed up for. And the MOS that I signed up for was a 67 Tango, which was later redesignated to a 15 Tango. And what that was is a Black Hawk mechanic and crew chief / door gunner, okay? To tell you everything that I remember from A.I.T would make for a very long video, so I'm going to chop it up into parts. In this first part, I'm just going to talk about when I initially got to A.I.T and the next morning after. Well, if you watched that basic training story video, you know that we didn't get that warm welcome from the drill sergeants that's commonly seen in movies and TV shows. And everybody that I graduated basic training with kind of thought we got away with it. And we were also told that the drill sergeants in A.I.T were a lot more laid back than the basic training drill sergeants, and that their job was to get us ready for that first initial unit that we go to after we graduate A.I.T. So everybody was kind of hopeful because we heard that the rules were more laxed, that we had some freedoms around post and even off post. So my A.I.T was stationed in Fort Eustis, Virginia, and after basic training, they got everybody that was going to go to A.I.T at Fort Eustis, got us all packed into a bus, and drove us out there. When we got to Fort Eustis, our first stop was in front of the barracks for Charlie Company, 1st of the Triple Deuce. And to all the tangos that went to A.I.T, that's more commonly known as Charlie Rock. And right outside the barracks there were a bunch of rocks that had been painted by classes that graduated before us. Well, as we pull up in front of the barracks, we saw that there were two drill sergeants standing in front of the building. One was a female, one was a tall, skinny white dude. Well, they walked into the bus, and when they boarded the bus, they had very inviting faces. They didn't seem like they were mad or mean or anything. And that kind of put the rest of us on the bus at ease. We weren't ready for what happened. As I looked at the female drill sergeant's face, it kind of changed. And they started screaming at us harder and louder than any drill sergeant ever screamed at us in basic training. And that took us all off guard and kind of like froze in our seats. And that's when the female drill sergeant got even more pissed off and told us that we all had to be off the bus and in formation outside within 30 seconds. Everybody started scrambling, and obviously we all didn't make it out of the bus and into formation in 30 seconds. So they started smoking our ass. And what smoking means is making us do a lot of different exercises like push-ups, sit-ups, burpees, you name it. Well, one thing we got to do during that smoke session was rescue our battle buddies from the battlefield. And by that, I mean that across from the barracks, just in front of the PT field, was a sand-filled volleyball court. It was right next to a small set of bleachers and a little gazebo for the smokers. And they told us to low crawl from where they dropped us off on the bus, which was in the middle of a little street in front of the barracks. We low crawled across into the volleyball court on the far side of the volleyball court and grabbed a sandbag, which was our battle buddy, right? And we had to drag him while low crawling to safety, which was out of the volleyball court. And then once everyone had rescued a battle buddy, they had us put the sandbags back, brush the sand off of us, and they told us to go to chow. Now, in basic training, when you go to the chow hall, you're always sidestepping. And as you're sidestepping, when you get to something that you want, you sound off with that food item that you want. And because we had just gotten smoked by the drill sergeants, everybody that I was with kind of reverted back to that basic training mentality, and we were sidestepping through the chow hall. And as we're sidestepping, the guys that are already in A.I.T, they're looking at us and they're laughing, they're making fun of us. And then one guy actually tells us, hey, guess what? You guys don't have to do that. It's A.I.T, it's more lax. Don't worry about it. And that first day was pretty crazy, and we didn't know what to think about A.I.T after we had just gotten smoked like that. And I think that's all I remember from the first day. But the next morning is even more memorable. I think that is seared into my memory. Now, in basic training, I had a shaving profile, and I was allowed to grow out my facial hair to 1/4 inch, and I had to shave at least once a week. And between each shaving once a week, I had to keep it trimmed to that 1/4 inch length. Well, the next morning, while everyone was rushing around trying to have time to shit, shower, and shave before PT formation, I was taking my time because I know I didn't have to go and wait in line just to shave. So, got dressed in my PT uniform, got my shorts, shirt, my road guard vest on. Now, in basic training, we wore road guard vests while we did PT, running around. And the way you could distinguish yourself from the cadre or drill sergeants or other permanent party personnel on the base was the fact that they all had PT belts or reflective belts. And all the trainees wore the big road guard vests. Well, as I'm getting my PT uniform on and my road guard vest on and all that stuff, everyone's telling me I better hurry up and go shave before I get in trouble at PT formation. And you know, I had that shaving profile, so I kept telling everybody, hey, don't worry about it, I got a shaving profile. And I said that at least 10 times that morning. When I was done getting ready, I grabbed my canteen and I started down the stairs. And as I'm going down the stairs, another soldier was coming up the stairs. And he was wearing his PTs, obviously, his road guard vest, and on his PTs he had a little PT patch, which meant he was a PT stud. And as we pass each other, he looks at me and he sees that, you know, I got facial hair going. He's like, hey bud, check it out. I'd go and shave before you get in PT formation if you know it's good for you. By that time, I'd already had enough of everyone trying to give me their advice. So I looked at the guy, I'm like, you know what? Why don't you worry about yourself and shut the f up? And I kept going down the stairs. I got maybe 2 steps down. Private! Who do you think you are? I'm like, oh my God. That was a drill sergeant? Sure enough, it was. And that soldier ended up being this guy, Drill Sergeant Klingon. And for all the tangos that went to A.I.T. in 1999, they know of Drill Sergeant Klingon. When it came to PT, the guy was a machine. I mean, I don't know how he did what he did. He would get up early to do PT before PT. But anyways, he was like, you better hope you have a shaving profile on you. And I did, had it in my little pocket of my PT shorts, so I pull it out, I hand it to him. I'm standing at parade rest. He reads it, looks at my face, he sees that I'm within the regulations of the shaving profile. He hands it back, he says, you're lucky, go get in formation. So I thought, you know, cool, I dodged a bullet there, let me go get in formation. Well, because of that little exchange between me and Drill Sergeant Klingon, I was the last guy in formation. And the formation in the morning was huge because there were so many guys going through A.I.T. at that time. They had to split up the classes in 3 shifts. You had first shift, which was called Dayhawks, second shift, which was called Nighthawks, and a smaller group in third shift, which they called the Night Stalkers. And they named them that after the Special Operations Aviation Regiment, the 160th. So I run and get in formation. Shortly after, Drill Sergeant Klingon comes back out, stands everybody to attention, and marches us out to the PT field. And after we got out to the PT field, he stops us, and we see a female in PTs come running out of the barracks. And I'm like, ooh, she's late. Wonder what's gonna happen to her. Well, she gets in formation, and she's right next to me, seeing as how I was the last guy. Drill Sergeant Klingon saw her, but he didn't say anything to her. I was like, well, that's strange. Wonder why. Well, he got us to attention, and he told the formation that, hey, we have the honor of having our commander join us for PT this morning. And sure enough, that female was our commander. Her name was Captain Kupik. So now that the commander is right next to me in PT, I'm like, oh, my luck for my first day of actual A.I.T. can't get any worse. Well, the commander says to Drill Sergeant Klingon, hey, you know what? I can't wait for the run. It's gonna be a good one. And I hate running, so I was like, well, Drill Sergeant Klingon, he extends the formation out so that we can stretch and do our warm-up exercises. And during a PT session, which is an hour long, if you're gonna go for a run, you usually do a couple stretches and you do a couple warm-up exercises like 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, and a couple other exercises. Then you form back up and you go on your run. So Drill Sergeant Klingon, you know, he extends out the formation, we do our stretches, we do a couple warm-up push-ups, but then we do a different variation of push-ups, and then another, and then another. And I think we did every variation of push-ups we could possibly do. And that lasted for about 15, 20 minutes. Then after that, he moved on to sit-ups, and another 15 to 20 minutes of sit-ups. And then we did some other exercises after that. And then finally, he formed us back up, and he said, all right, let's go for that run. Now, the whole time we were doing all those push-ups and sit-ups, the commander is cussing him out under her breath. Even though I could still hear, she was pissed. And when he formed us all back up and marched us out to the road to go run, he looked at his watch and he's like, oh, would you look at the time? We don't have time to go for a run, ma'am. Sorry, we'll have to get it next time. So she is livid at this point, and she runs back into the barracks, pissed off. And look at Drill Sergeant Klingon, he had a little smile on his face. Well, that's it for this first Army Stories AIT video. If you liked it, go ahead and click that like button. If you enjoyed it and want to hear more, don't forget to subscribe. And for the guys that I went to A.I.T with that are watching this video, hope it brought back some good memories. And I guess I'll see you guys next time.